Okay, let's start. Let's continue. Okay, increase in international travel and tourism. Greater international travel and tourism. Okay, for example, in 2008, there were over 922 million international tourist arrivals with a growth of 1.9 as compared to 2007. Okay, notice that the greater numbers of tourist arrivals in our country, the higher the income that the Philippines could have. That is why it would be a lot better if you're going to promote our country. Okay? In that way, the world may see Philippines as a united country, as a country in which it has loving people, loving culture, and loving environment. Okay? That we may also earn millions and even billions of money. Okay? Take note that when we reach at a maximum of 6 point something gross domestic profit a year, it is really an advantage for every country, is most especially in our country. In Philippines, we usually have, or we usually garnered 6 point something GDP a year. That means to say that we are one of the most developed, fastest developing, no, one of the most fastest developing countries in terms of economic. Yeah, in terms of economic. Okay. So worldwide sporting events such as FIFA World Cup, ICC World Cup, and the Olympic Games. So say for example, last year I think there was the Sea Games was held here in the Philippines, and it is really advantage in our country, in our part, because Philippines will become more known. Another one is, of course, the countries, our country will be receiving a money, either millions or billions, as a form of registration, okay, from the other countries. Okay, multicultural workforce include the social backgrounds, the cultures, the racial backgrounds, gender, age, regions, and religion. So say for example here, as the slide says, that there are different people with different backgrounds, race rather. So that is an example of multicultural workforce. Need for managing. Okay, need for managing. Staff retention. Yes, staff retention. A staff retention, less recruitment cost, working together, more productivity, resolving conflicts, or team management. Need for managing. How do you manage when you are an employer? How do you manage your subordinate workers? When you're a manager, how do you manage your subordinate workers? When you're a principal, how do you manage your co-teachers? Okay, that is really important. How you communicate to your co-workers, to your boss, to your managers really matter. Okay, again, take note, a better communicator or a competent communicator knows how, when, and where to speak. How, when, and where to give the ideas. Okay, there is a quotation here. A workforce where people communicate effectively is more productive. Yes, that is really true. If in your workers there is a unity, there is a peace, it will become more productive, and that the company may benefits with that, or may benefited with that. The dose of intercultural communication. What do you mean by those? Okay, these are the things that we have to do. First here is avoid assumptions, jokes which are misunderstood. Take note, we cannot just bring our cultures to the other countries, such as one example of one example of culture that we have here in the Philippines is by by doing thumbs up. Thumbs up here in Philippines is okay. That means an approval, you're doing good, etc. But in the other country, it is really a rude one. Bastos, yeah. Notice class, it is rude. Okay? So do not assume that our culture here are okay towards the other people in the other country. Okay? Second bullet here is use symbols, diagrams, and pictures. Okay? Now avoid using slang in idioms, choosing words that will convey only the most specific denotative meaning. What do you mean by denotative? Denotative meaning how a message is, convertible, is processable, understandable. And okay, that's it. Okay, slang words, these are words that most likely being used in the street people. Or in other words, these are street words. Like what we are using here, sana all, earpat for father, earmat for mother, and many more. Okay, so another example is pet malu, malupit, ludi, idol. Okay, you cannot use that one to them, but rather use the words that would convey, that would only convey. Okay? Investigate their culture's perception. That is why before going to some places, know their culture's place. When you're planning to go to Thailand to work, to be an English teacher, to be an English teacher, then know their cultures, know the culture of their education system. Take cultural and local differences into account. Okay? Sometimes when we think that we are superior than the other culture, avoid that one. Okay? There isn't any superior culture. Take that note, class. There isn't any culture that is superior towards another culture. Why? Because with that culture, people in that country or in that society are living. The same is true in language. There isn't any superior language. You may say for example, here in the Philippines, Luzon people, the Luzonian or people who are living in Luzon, most likely they say that they are superior compared to the Visayan, I mean to the people in Mindanao or in Visayas, because as let's remove the Visayas. They usually think that they are more superior than the people in Mindanao, because even before, most of the Mindanaoans or the people in Mindanao went or traveled going to Luzon to be a helper or a maid. That was before. That is why it then originates the idea that whenever you're a person who comes from Mindanao, you are superior than them, which is not. Okay, you avoid that perception. Now that you know our topic, you have to identify that. I mean, you have to know that one. There isn't any superior language because every language caters the needs of every society. Okay, so say for example here in Bacolod, you cannot say that Hiligaynon or Ilonggo or Ilongga is inferior to Bisaya. Why? Because people here in, I mean, the Hiligaynon language is the one that is being used by businesses here, by business people. Okay? And it makes Bacolod more developed because of this language. So it really caters the needs of every people here. Say what you do and do what you say. Make sure that your communication is aligned with the audience. Use understandable language. Now, sometimes, whenever we talk to somebody, we knew already in the first place that these people do not understand our language. and then we keep using it. Study. We know already that this group of people don't know how to speak English, but yet we speak in English for them to look at us like higher, no? Social. Again, competent communicator knows how to blend with the culture. Okay, let's jump up with the next slide. The don'ts, these are the things that we have to avoid using the same approach worldwide. Again, their culture and our culture is different. You cannot bring your culture to them. Now, you cannot bring all your cultures here in the Philippines to the other country because it is not applicable. Most especially in the Middle Eastern countries, again, if you're gonna bring all of your cultures, your head might be cut off. Okay, so not all. That is why um, people, the foreigner, shall we say it, foreigner, whenever they usually bring their cultures here, such as American, whenever they travel here, they really have the frankness. They tend to be frank because that is their culture. And we Filipino, if we are not knowledgeable about culture or analyzing culture, we may interpret them as rude. Okay, we may interpret them as rude. But again, thanks to God that we are studying oral communication. Okay, we are studying intercultural communication, and that we can learn more and more. Okay, so next here is letting cultural differences become a source of conflict that hinder the process of work. Again, when you are in the different culture in that place, know how to blend. Fail to ignore culturally dependent. Fail to ignore culturally dependent enabling and counteracting forces. Next is fail to take the language barriers into account. So say for example, if you happen to uh, shall I say mispronounce a word, or you happen to say something that are a bit informal towards them, then take it take it into account. Take it as a, as an experience, so that the next conversation that you may have, you will become a better communicator. Okay. Don't, for example, in North American, for example, North Americans view direct eye contact as a sign of honesty. But in Asians, especially here in the Philippines, uh, direct eye contact is a form of disrespect. Say, for example, when you look at the people older than you, then you may be interpreted as rude. Most especially in Japan, um, in Thailand. I'm not sure in Thailand, but in Korea, that is really sure. I am really sure with that. Okay, so the thumbs up is a sign. The thumbs up sign in America and most Europe, most especially in Philippines, means that something is good or that you approve. This sign is considered rude in many Asian and Islamic countries. Okay, take note of that. Next is raising your hand up means stop in America or England slash even here in Philippines. And raising our hands, this is a strategy that the traffic enforcers and even the policemen had been using years already or decades already. So whistle, whenever the whistle, they usually it is usually being paired with the stop sign or the raising hand. Different dining etiquettes of different cultures, setting, eating, home restaurant, the food, conversation, body language. Okay, notice in some culture, whenever they eat on the table or in the kitchen, during the eating time, they usually don't talk because for them it is not good. But here in the Philippines, in our culture, eating while talking is a form of bonding. It is a form of unwinding where you can unwind your problems. So again, cultures really differ. Okay, formal arrangement. Do you have this one? Do you usually use this? Of course, I personally do not do this one every day. Okay, but I usually do this during formal events such as birthday parties, you know, very etiquette. Okay, chopstick. Do you know how to use chopstick? I don't know how to use neither. Okay, but if you know, then that's good. To conclude class or topic this week, diversity is a challenge as well as an opportunity which can have positive as well as negative influence. Okay, so for example, when you were raised in uh, in America, and then for years, okay, for years, shall I say 10 years, 15 years, and then you happen to transfer here in Philippines. So the way the America raise you, the culture that you are that you have learned, that you have acquired, of course you may be able to bring that one here, in which you just have to be very careful because your culture is different here in the Philippines, so you might be rude sometimes. Okay, acknowledging, understanding, accepting, valuing, and celebrating the differences among people to create equal employment opportunities. Again, if you wanted to land a good job, know how to communicate well with people from different cultures with different backgrounds. Okay, so that is really important. Take note that employers nowadays hire brain and positive attitude. What is your brain if you have a negative attitude? Okay, if I am the employer, I would prefer hiring workers that are not that skilled yet very teachable. Why? Because skills can be developed, okay, one day at a time. But your negative attitude would really take years before they will be developed. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. This week is a very exciting week, is a very exciting topic. So keep watching for my announcement. Be updated. If you have some question, Mr. Nanali is 100% approachable. Just PM me. Thank you so much, and may God bless us all.